I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how to use the Dyson Airwrap curler on kind of longer, more wavy hair and with extensions, because it's definitely taken a couple of months to get used to using it. I nearly sent it back, but I held on to it because I didn't want to damage my hair with the original, like the curling irons. I wanted to be a lot kinder to it, so I wanted to stick it out. So I've had about 2 months practice with this now, and I've kind of learned a couple of tips as I'm going. So I'm going to show you a couple of wrong ways and a couple of right ways, or ways they tell you and ways I kind of prefer that works for kind of longer, thicker hair. So this is the whole kit. This is the dryer piece if you want to use this to dry your hair. Again, like I prefer using my Dyson hair dryer to get it smoother. And you have these brushes that can be used as brushes. They work great when I don't have my extensions in. When I have extensions in, like the tape ins, I tend to get tangled in the grow out part, so I tend to avoid using those. I used the blowout brush once. It kind of made it a bit frizzy for my hair. I didn't like it. I don't like these small ones. I kind of end up looking like Shirley Temple. So my go-to, the ones I've been using all the time, are the larger size of these. So as you can see, my hair is quite wavy naturally, and it's super thick and long. So the first thing I'm gonna say to do is, rather than use their attachment, if you have like thinner, straighter hair, this is great for doing it. If you have hair that tends to want to be wavy, it's not gonna cut it. You're gonna end up with a frizzy style, which kind of, I don't know about you, but that's not the style I'm going for. I kind of like more of a sleek, full wave, like full body, but sleek. And if you don't, you either have to go all the way to the top and kind of have that like really tight curls all the way to the top of the head. Again, not the look I'm going for. Or you can use a hairdryer. So I'm just gonna rough dry the roots to begin with. I'm not gonna curl. So I get that nice and smooth. And then I'm gonna move on to the Airwrap Styler. Again, you wanna avoid the ends because you need that damp for the curler to work. So let's do this. I'm going to start by brushing out all of the tangles and getting it as smooth as possible with a tangle teaser, and then starting to section it. So I'm just using a big round brush to dry the first like 1 to 2 inches, maybe 3 of the root area, to smooth them all out, get a bit of volume in there so that when I come back in with the Airwrap curler, it doesn't all frizz and I don't have to curl all the way up to the top. So I'm just going to work my way really quickly around my head. I'm going to speed things up for you so we're not sat here all day. And then as I get closer around to the front, I tend to pay more attention and get it really smooth there, because I don't want the little curly, wispy baby hairs popping through at the front. Okay, so now we're about 40% dry. Like I said, literally just wanted to get those roots a bit smaller before we start tackling the whole thing. If it starts getting too dry at the ends, you can always use a water spray to kind of dampen it back down again so you have a good starting point. So the way you're going to do this is not like kind of like in layers up. You're going to do half the head at a side, because it's kind of designed to, one side does one and one side does the other. What I mean by that is there's 2 attachments, one for the right side of your head and one for the left side of your head. So we're going to start with one side and then switch and do the other. I like to section my hair into kind of 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. I've tried doing bigger sections before when I was trying to do it quicker and be lazier. It just doesn't work. It goes frizzy, it all pops out the top. So it is better to be a little bit patient with this. And then that just simply clips on the top, as easy as that. Okay, so you're going to want to turn the dryer on and then place it a few inches away from the bottom until it grabs the hair. It will actually suck it in, but don't worry, it's not going to tangle it all up. I know you can be a bit worrying, but there's actually nothing there it can get tangled in. I keep tapping it because I'm trying to see when it's dry so I know when to release it. I've found that by going all the way up to the top first to try and get it dry all the way to the root completely, if I missed any with the dryer, and then starting to pull it out but keeping tension on it, I get the best curl without being curled all the way up to the root. And then you're just going to keep repeating that the whole way through this half of the head. You're going to do one half at a time because there's 2 attachments, one for the right side of your head and one for the left. So it's better just to do one side and then switch to the other, so you haven't got to keep switching over the attachment. I actually can't believe how well this went for me today. In the beginning, I could not get the hair to suck up like it is now. I don't know what it is. I think it's just one of those things you keep new to practicing with, and then suddenly you'll just get it and it'll all make sense.
It's definitely not quiet, but it's also not really loud either. It's kind of comparable to a hairdryer. It does get really hot though, so be careful around your ears and your face. Mine are already going really red right there. So the great thing if you have thinner or shorter hair is that you don't have to manually wind up the wand. You'll just slide it towards your hairline and it'll auto wrap. With my hair, because it's thicker, or if you've got longer hair, you might want to wind it like I am manually to get the tension on it to keep the hair smoother. Don't worry, we're not going to leave it looking like this. We will brush it out later, but I want it to cool down first, and I'm not using the cooling setting. So what you'll see with these longer, thicker pieces, I'm having to manually wind it, otherwise it tends to pop off the top where that pink knob is. We want it to stay within the wand so it stays really nice and smooth. And again, I just really like having the tension on there, but that's just a personal choice depending on what look you're going for. I've left the volume on this one because I wanted you to be able to hear, but you have to turn it off every time you release the hair so it stops sucking up the hair so you can release it.
So we're almost done with the first side. I tend to do it in a center parting, and then if I want to, I'll flip it to do a side, and that way it kind of creates some more body in the hair as well. I'm getting more particular about how I'm doing it as I'm coming round to the front because that's where I care about what it looks like the most. So maybe slightly smaller pieces so that it doesn't frizz and I can get it all in there.
Honestly though, it's just a lot of trial and error and playing around and seeing what works for your hair. Can you see all those little bits are just wanting to fly out? The air's pushing it out, so I'm just smoothing them back in, and then often it will try and pick up the other pieces of hair that are close to it as well, so you'll need to pull those out of the way so it doesn't all get sucked in. Sometimes the hardest bit's the very front piece. Can you see this piece does not want to go in, but just keep playing with it and it'll eventually get sucked back in. And the worst case scenario, you can go over that bit later just with a curling iron.
Okay, so before I move on to the next side, I'm just going to check it's curled all the way around and I haven't missed any sections before going on to the next. So you'll notice right now it is super, super curly. So okay, they're going to drop, you're going to brush it out, do your thing, but you kind of want it to start like that. I'm not even going to hairspray it, I'm going to let it do that, then I'm going to like finger comb it out a little bit, and then I'll spray kind of parts around the face just to shape it a bit. So this is where you're going to want to switch. So you'll see at the front there's a little lock and unlock, so when you press that, you can just lift the top off, and then you'll switch it for the other side. And then moving on to the other side of my head. So I haven't been using the cold setting on this. I've been using the hot because the cold setting just takes longer. I'm just gonna let it air cool. It'll be way quicker than dealing with this. But if you want to do it this way, you can do it that way. It's just another option. All right, let's go. This is what I mean about the thick hair. If you have a lot of hair, it is time consuming, but it is curling and drying at the same time. So, you know, it's kind of half of one, half of the other. I still think it's taking longer to do my hair overall, but I don't know, at least I feel like I'm using less heat on my hair, like less direct heat anyway. So, and I like the fit. I get way more body with this than I do with the curling irons. And I think it's the pageant queen in me. I really like a lot of body in my hair.
Don't worry if the shorter pieces fall out. You can always come back to those and do them later and make sure it's all curled.
I feel a bit like Goldilocks right now.
I want to show you what happens if you take too much hair. It will start to come off the top of the barrel over the top. When that happens, you don't get a nice smooth curl. It goes a bit frizzy, which isn't the look I'm going for. So you want to take a smaller section and make sure it's all on that barrel to get a nice smooth curl. And then again, I'm just touching to make sure and see when it's dry. Just a word of warning, it does tend to get really hot, especially around the ears and face, which are more sensitive. So just be careful in those areas. I'm blatantly not a hairdresser, so I'm not using sectioning grips around my hair. You can if you want to, but I'm too lazy. It just takes way too long and my mouth works just as well. I'm also not bionic. This is sped up 20 times most of the video, just so you're not sat here for 40 minutes watching it in real time. Okay, so that's pretty much my whole head curled and done. It gets super hot around my head. That's why I'm looking like I am.
Okay, so as tempting as it is to touch it now and brush it out, try not to, just let it cool down and set if you didn't use the cooling setting on it. I'm gonna put my lashes on, get changed, and I will come back and show you the finished look. My hair's been drying for about an hour whilst I was doing some work, putting my lashes on, lips, and figuring out what the hell I was gonna wear. Anyway, so it's already started to drop, but it's still a little bit curly on the end. So I'm literally just gonna use my fingers to kind of gently rake through all of that, break them up a little bit. I don't want to break it up too much. Here we go. Because I haven't got any hairspray in, and it's still gonna drop a little bit. And then you can decide whether you want to do like the center part, or if you want a bit of volume, the good old hair flip trick if you want to kind of do something more like that. And then I like to use more than just hairspray, is Smooth and Seal, just to add a little bit of shine on the ends, not too much so the curls don't drop. If you want to use hairspray, go for it. That is my thoughts on the Dyson Airwrap curler. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll try and answer them. Again, a lot of it was just trial and error, having fun with it, not getting frustrated with it, or just sending it back. I'm really glad I stuck out with it because I do like the volume I'm getting from it. It is slightly longer to use time-wise and letting it air dry and then whacking a curling iron through it, but I like how much kinder it is to my hair. I feel like it's getting shinier. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
I'm like, what the hell do I do or say now? Am I gonna run with it or cover it up?
Quarantine problems.